Tarik Saleh.
Bravo.
On va animer la scène. Yves Texi pour la traduction. Franck Sanouk pour Memento, le producteur, distributeur, et encore au Méliès. Si on peut allumer la scène, s'il vous plaît, en cabine. On va commencer là, tant que la lumière n'est pas arrivée. Ah si, ça y est, tout va bien. Merci beaucoup d'être là, à tous les deux. Merci Tarik d'être revenu au Méliès. Merci Franck pour cette nouvelle avant-première après la Palme d'Or de Jafar Panahi. On va commencer assez classiquement, je vais poser 4-5 questions et après je vous donne la parole pour que vous réagissiez au film et au début de conversation. La question traditionnelle sur un film, c'est souvent la question de la genèse du projet et la question de l'origine. Et là, je vais la biaiser un peu parce que si j'ai bien lu, il y a à la fois une série de plateformes qui est une des origines du projet et puis une proposition, deux propositions qui vous ont été faites. Et vous en dites soit trop, soit pas assez dans le dossier de presse, que vous dites que ces propositions émanent d'un pays démocratique et d'un pays autoritaire. Et moi, j'ai envie de savoir voilà, qui et pour faire quoi.
Wow, okay. Hello. Salam alaikum. How are you? Is there any Egyptians in the audience? Il y a des Égyptiens à ça? No?
No Egyptians in Montreuil.
Yeah, so when I had done Cairo Conspiracy, I was approached by a country with a lot of money and a lot of influence.
I want to know you.
It's a country where the crown prince is the most powerful man in the world, I would say. Because he sits on a lot of resources, so he can even buy an American election if he wants. It doesn't ring a bell? Saudi Arabia.
Voilà.
So it was a very strange situation because I had been approached by an American studio to write a TV series. Together with Paul Williman, who created House of Cards. And we wrote for a long time, and then we found out that the studio we were working for had been bought by an acquisition bank in London. And this acquisition bank, I went into the internet and looked, and the owner, he was the private banker of Mr. Mohammed bin Salman. Oh. So I had already written this script, and my American agents called me, and they were very excited. They said, "You're going to be so rich, you're going to be so rich." And I said, "No, I'm not, because I'm not going to do it." And then they said, "The owner of the bank wants to call you, and he wants to fly to Stockholm to have a coffee with you." And I said, "No, please. I don't want to have a coffee with the inner circle of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia." So instead they fly me to London. I couldn't refuse. My father said to me, "Be very careful, they are very dangerous." So I fly to London, and he asked me what my price was. And I said, "I don't have a price." It's not true, I have a price. but I said that. Yes, so just to finish that story, because they didn't let me go. You know, they basically, were continuing, and there's a lot to tell about that story. But because he was very open with that it was Mohammed bin Salman who wanted this TV series. So what saved me was the writer's strike in America. Because he has bought the American studio and they were signatory to the, so I said, "I can't work, there is a strike." And he said, "What the fucking strike? Where is this strike?" I said, "It's in America, but it's you have bought this studio and they are signed with this, and he said, "When will it end?" I said, "I don't know. I hope it will go on for very long." I was the only one who hoped it was going on for long. And to finalize that, right away, after the strike was going on, I signed instead a contract with a democratic country, a democratic country very close to this country, maybe this country, to do a TV series, a very popular TV series here.
Which one?
I'm not going to say.
Why?
But if I say that it's collaborating with DGSE, does it ring a bell? Le bureau de l'urgence.
Ah, légende. Ah, GSE.
So the third meeting, I had a meeting with DGSE.
Wow.
Et donc la première réunion, c'était avec la DGSE.
J'aime le nom, quand même.
It was very interesting.
Et c'était vraiment intéressant.
I asked them, why do you want to do this TV series? And they said it's great recruitment. So I'm working on this, and I feel like this actor in the film. I am thinking that no one will ever believe me that this is what's going on. When you do political thrillers, you realize all of a sudden that film is very, very powerful. Stories are very, very powerful in order to shape the way we look at the world. You know, and for me, I wanted to have that discussion because a lot of us filmmakers, we hide behind the idea it's just a movie. It's just a movie. It's just fiction. But of course it's not just fiction and it's not just a movie. It informs us, it's the way we look at the world. It's the way we then see the rest of the world.
Deuxième question, parce qu'on en est à deux. Vous dites qu'il y a eu une espèce de dialogue avec votre père, par ailleurs cinéaste, sur le fait de représenter vraiment Al-Sisi. Et que lui était plutôt contre, en disant mais non, on fait plutôt un film historique, ce sera plus tranquille. Et que vous hésitiez longtemps avant de trancher, en disant non, il faut que ce soit Al-Sisi, le personnage, dans le film, et que doit jouer Monsieur Georges. Donc pourquoi votre père était contre cette idée et qu'est-ce qui vous a convaincu qu'il fallait affronter cette réalité-là contemporaine?
Okay, first I have a confession that in the first version of the script, the actor had a relationship with Al-Sisi's wife.
C'est lâche!
My father said, no, no. It's not only about your security, it's also about the rest of the family's security. And he also said it's unrealistic because, you know, Entasar, the wife of Al-Sisi, she is his cousin. They are married. It's a family business. And his wife is very much involved in the power of how Egypt is run. So he said she would not, you know, she would not be interested in an actor, you know, it's not a realistic scenario. And I agree with that. But really, I pushed my father when he said, can you please make up a president? I said, are you serious? No one will accept that. Not today. I don't believe that we can do these films anymore where, you know, the Russians speak English with a Russian accent, you know, this like, where, you know, where we, you know, oh, it's a Russian president, his name is Igor instead of Vladimir. Come on, we all know who it is. And you have to understand, like in Egypt, the president is a static thing. It's not like here, Macron, okay, he's almost also a static thing, but, you know, you will, at one point, he will quit, right? He will not die on the post, which is the case of Al-Sisi. Well, you know, in the pharaonic system, you know, you die, and then there is a new pharaoh, you know.
Troisième question, et après je vous passe la parole. Il y a un vrai contraste dans le film sur les typologies de personnages. Il y a à la fois le personnage principal, Georges, qui quand même sous la pression va se soumettre, comme son metteur en scène, qui lui dit d'ailleurs on m'a fait la même chose qu'à toi, donc sous-entendu lui aussi fait l'objet d'un chantage. Il y a un personnage étonnamment droit, qui est le docteur Mansour, dont vous dites par ailleurs qu'il est une sorte de représentant du cinéaste, donc je veux bien qu'on dise un mot là-dessus. Et puis il y a un autre type de personnages qui sont les femmes, et qui sont, elles, assez formidablement libres dans leur réaction, dans leur façon de dire les choses, aux sentiments, à lui en particulier. Ce qui fait qu'autant il est soumis avec les gens de pouvoir, autant il est d'une certaine façon dominé par ces femmes, par leur liberté, y compris liberté sexuelle d'ailleurs. Et je voudrais savoir comment vous avez pensé l'équilibre de ces trois termes, sa soumission, la rectitude perverse de Mansour et la liberté des femmes.
Yes. First of all, when Dr. Mansour, of course, he is absolutely representing the director, and I identify very much with Dr. Mansour as a character. And let me explain why. Because, you know, when you direct a film, it's like when you have a party at home, you know, you can't relax because everyone else has a good time. Oh, come on, relax, Tarik, you know. I'm like, no, this carpet is actually expensive. You cannot, why are you wearing your shoes inside and you drink? No, that's my, you know, you have to be, you know, that's what it's like to direct a film. Everyone else has fun except for the director. He has to be the grown-up in the room, you know. So it's like Dr. Mansour. So when it comes to the women, I think it's very, first of all, it was wonderful to have women in this film, because in Cairo Conspiracy, there's only 2 women.
Yeah.
And it was it was like a dystopia, I mean, to do that film, to be only with men. But, you know, I have 4 daughters and my wife, so I am surrounded by women in my life. Dominated by women, like, you know, but to be serious, Egypt and Cairo, to me, is a woman. It is a very feminine country. It sounds like maybe a paradox when you think about the Middle East and the suppression of women, and women in Egypt are suppressed, but there is also very strong presence of women in society. It historically, you know, for example, the feminist movement in Egypt started already in 1920s and was very strong and present. And when you think about the ultimate symbol of Cairo and Egypt, it is Kulthum, the singer. She is the mother of, you know, of the country, and we refer to Egypt as a mother, you know. Mother of the world, actually. And so, but it's of course a paradox. You know, I think that George is manipulated by the fact that Suzanne is so free. You know, I think he becomes manipulated by that, because her freedom is not real. That's my own take on it.
Qui veut poser la première question ou réaction? Oui, monsieur.
Merci beaucoup, monsieur. Alors, avant tout, je voulais vous féliciter pour le film. J'aurais 2 questions. J'aurais voulu savoir comment vous avez rencontré cet immense acteur qui est Tarik Saleh, et pourquoi l'avoir pris dans cette trilogie. Et autre chose, maintenant que vous avez terminé votre trilogie sur l'Égypte, je veux savoir quel était votre prochain projet.
Ce sera peut-être une tétralogie, on ne sait pas.
I answer the second question first. I'm doing a TV series in Saudi Arabia. No.
Deuxième question d'abord, je fais une série en Arabie Saoudite.
No. I met Fares over 20 years ago, and it was he was in a play directed by Ingmar Bergman's daughter Eva, and she had called me because I had been at Guantanamo as a filmmaker, not as a prisoner, and I had done a documentary at Guantanamo, and she was doing a play about Guantanamo. So I came to talk to the actors, and one of the main actor was Fares. And I had seen Fares. He had acted in 2 comedies that I had seen and that I loved. And we became, right away, from the first time we met, we became best friends. And we didn't work together, but we were best friends. And I saw everything he did, he saw everything I did. And I admired his acting, and I was thinking, I am going to write a film for him. And that film was Cairo Confidential.
Ouais.
And for the second question, I am always writing 3 scripts at the same time because I want to choose which one. And so out of those 3 scripts, 2 scripts go to the last stage, and then I choose one of them. And I'm right now at the stage where it's 2. It's down to 2, and but I will say that I'm not done with Egypt, but I'm done with El-Sisi.
Ce qu'il n'a pas dit, c'est qu'il a écrit ce rôle pour Fares.
Oh yeah. And Fares, you know, we are very close, so we have this deal that I don't have to hire him, and he don't have to accept the role from me, which is good. But he is a transformative actor in the way I know him really, really well. I mean, I know everything about him, and still, when I direct him, I don't know how he changes so much. I don't know the guy I'm shooting. It is absolutely incredible. And I have had the privilege to work with some of the greatest actors in the world. You know, when I, for example, in Westworld, with you know, people like Ed Harris and, you know, Jeffrey Wright. Fares is something else. He changes. Yeah, so I just want to say one more thing about that. You know, first of all, I always joke with Fares that he should get an agent for his nose. Also, we should have, you know, an insurance for his nose. I mean, it's the greatest nose in show business. For me, you know, Melville is one of my favorite directors. I'm an obsessive Melville guy. And I think about the relationship he had with Alain Delon, and especially, you know, Samurai and Red Circle. And for me, it's the same. You don't have to change actor. Why? When you have a great actor, why change actor?
Il y a une blague dans le film sur le nez de Fares d'ailleurs, avec l'espèce de joke sur les si n'aime pas le nez, et on comprend bien que c'est une petite private joke dirigée envers l'acteur Fares. Madame Alice.
Oui, au générique, j'ai repéré des listes incroyables de noms turcs. Alors, est-ce que ça veut dire que vous avez tourné le film en Turquie et pas en Égypte, probablement, et à Istanbul ou ailleurs? Est-ce que vous pouvez préciser un petit peu? Et comment vous avez eu l'autorisation de tourner aussi en Turquie? Parce que c'est peut-être pas très évident non plus.
C'est pour ça qu'on a laissé le générique presque jusqu'à la fin.
You have a very good question. I have, of course, I was thrown out of Egypt 10 years ago, so I have not been able to go back, which is very sad for me, of course. Cairo Confidential was shot in Casablanca, and Cairo Conspiracy was shot in Istanbul, and this was also shot in Istanbul. I was going to shoot it also in Casablanca, this one, but I was thrown out just 2 weeks before we were going to start to shoot. In a nice way, but not as bad as in Egypt, but still, you know, they said leave. So we had to leave because, you know, the script made people very scared. And Erdogan, as you know, Erdogan has become, him and El-Sisi have been very angry at each other for a long time. But then they became friends again, right before I was going to shoot. They decided to become friends, and Erdogan invited El-Sisi while I was shooting. But Turkey is a very interesting place, very dynamic country, you could say, because there is a real resistance, you know, and there's the woman who's the Turkish producer on this, Diloy. She's amazing. She's a genius. She's a very brave producer. She was the one who made it possible to shoot it in Istanbul.
Et alors, il y a deux sujets particulièrement brûlants dans le film sur un plan politique. Il y a évidemment la corruption du pouvoir et sa mise en scène du faux et la pratique du crime politique. Mais il y a aussi un deuxième sujet par moment qui est la question de l'homosexualité, qui est assez clairement affrontée. Ça, en Égypte et en Turquie, c'est quoi la situation des homosexuels aujourd'hui?
Turkey is very, you know, they have a very strong gay community, very open. They have, you know, pride parades in Istanbul. They are very vocal and very. So, of course, they are suppressed, and there is, you know, like everywhere, there is a tension. But they are. It's very. In Egypt, the gay culture is much more subtle, but it absolutely exists everywhere. Everyone knows. Like some of the biggest stars of Egyptian cinema and music historically has of course been gay, you know? And for me, you know, some people get very upset because it's still a taboo in the culture. So, you know, for example, Abdel Halim Hafez, which is the big heartthrob, is now dead, you know, but when of course he was gay. I mean, all the love songs he sings in a male tense, like Habibi, which is, you say Habibti if it's a woman, you know. He of course, he meant for his lovers. And Kulthum never had children. She married a friend. You know, let's face it. But it's complicated in Egypt, very complicated. People are open within their circles. Yeah.
Bonsoir, juste commencer, c'était Abdel Halim Hafez.
Pardon, excusez-moi, merci.
Bonsoir, je suis navrée de poser cette question. J'espère que vous n'allez pas être fâchés. J'ai trouvé que le rôle des femmes était un rôle très sommaire, presque des potiches. Une qui a voulu avoir un sugar daddy parce qu'elle n'a pas réglé ses problèmes avec son père. Donc on voit un peu comme le mythe le tue le père. Et la deuxième, elle s'ennuie avec son mari. Voilà, c'est comme ça que j'ai vu. Et donc elle voulait le défier. Et puis parce qu'elle avait le pouvoir, et puis on va dire, elle avait la culture pour attirer cet acteur qui était là au milieu. Voilà, je suis navrée de poser cette question, sinon j'ai rien compris aux femmes. J'ai trouvé qu'on va presque dire que les Arabes véhiculent encore ce mythe de la domination masculine, et donc c'était un film de testostérone, et que les femmes elles avaient un rôle très de femmes, c'est-à-dire accessoire.
Well, I think it's good, pretty good analysis. You miss, of course, I think the most important woman, which is his friend, the actress, who stands up and who actually is the only one who keeps her integrity and pays the ultimate price. But here is the thing. This film is a film about a man who has, how could I say, his masculinity is in question. And I think that this story is told from his point of view. And, you know, I think that he looks at, for him, his real weakness is women. And, of course, this very toxic masculine world that I'm describing in the world of the army, the military, and the film industry, And I think it's actually a universal thing. It's not only in the Arab world. I think it is like that in Hollywood. I think it's like that here. I know you have some things going on here too. It's not, how could I put it? It's not a film about empowered women. I can assure you that. If that was, then you misunderstood what I'm saying. I'm saying that the real Egypt, and you know, there are many stories to tell about that. And maybe I will tell that story, you know. I do it one film at a time. But the Cairo trilogy, the red line in it, it's about men that has been bent until they break. And it's about men who try to be men in a toxic way, you could say. And I'm very interested in that myself, in the role of the man in the modern world, you know, because I think that we have to find a new way, you know. It doesn't work. This old way doesn't work. Clearly, it's dysfunctional. But of course, I mean, the women are not main characters in this film. But it was, I have ideas about Suzanne and even Lina Khudri's character, you know, Dunya, his girlfriend. I'm not sure she is. I'm not sure she is. Maybe she's a spy.
Il a insisté sur le fait que c'était universel. Il y a une chose qui est quand même assez spécifique et qui renvoie quand même au contenu du film, c'est le rôle de l'armée dans l'économie égyptienne. Je veux bien qu'ils nous en disent un mot, y compris dans le champ culturel, enfin, du cinéma et de la télévision.
Yeah, well, the Egyptian army, of course, it's one of the biggest armies in the world. It's one of the 10 biggest armies in the world. And they have a company called El Mutahda, which means the United. And this company runs 30% of the country's economy. And they do everything but defense work, you know. They have manufactured shoes, they, for example, export sweet potatoes to Sweden, which is absurd, and they are into all different kind of industries. And after El-Sisi took power, they took over the film and television industry. And so that is part of the thing, that the army is not just an army, it's men in uniform who is running the country through the economy.
Madame, pour la dernière question.
Oui, bonsoir, merci beaucoup pour ce film. Je me demandais ce qui, selon vous, choquerait le plus le pouvoir égyptien dans ce film.
Oh wow, okay. I think that already in the scene when George is talking about the height of the president, most Egyptians will start to feel very uncomfortable. I mean, everyone in Egypt has a nickname for El-Sisi, you know, of course, in secret, you know. But I mean, when he show up in real life, people, I mean, they would, I guess they, I mean, they will be very, I mean, they are probably very, very angry, okay. I don't even want to think about how angry they might be. It's not my, how can I say, I wouldn't want them as a test audience. Okay.
Donc oui, c'est une toute dernière. Le cœur du film, un des centres vers lequel il tend, c'est le défilé militaire. Et je voulais savoir si cette séquence-là, y compris dans le trucage qui vise à diffuser que tout s'est bien passé à la télévision, s'inspire de faits réels ou pas du tout.
Oh yeah, so I am obsessed with military parades. You know, I am probably the only Egyptian who watch these military parades on television every year. There are 3 of them, and at least. sometimes 4, and they are very, the problem for me was, of course, I mean, they are great in terms of how, they are, I would put them top 5 when it comes to parades in Egypt. They are really good at it. So it was very difficult to stage because I couldn't get it as good as they do it. It was difficult. And I mean, of course, the Russians, the Chinese, and the North Koreans are better, you know. I would put the Chinese number 1 right now. Russian Freedom Parade, number 2. And the North Koreans have slipped to number 3. But
Je suis quand même déçu que tu n'aies pas la France sur les Champs-Élysées. Je dois être 5e, France. 5e.
Number 4.
Mais voilà, la liste est très très bonne et c'était un peu frustrant pour moi parce que ça veut dire que quand j'ai dû organiser ce défilé, filmer ce défilé, j'arrivais pas à faire aussi bien que l'original.
But I'm serious. I think that answers your question. I think they will be very upset that the military parade is not bigger.
Je pense que ça répond à la question précédente. Je pense qu'ils sont très en colère que le défilé militaire ne soit pas plus grand et plus impressionnant.
Je reglisse ma question, est-ce que ce dérapage du défilé militaire et surtout l'écart entre ce qui se passe dans la réalité et la retransmission télévisée s'inspire d'une façon ou d'une autre à un fait réel?
Well, yes. You know, in Egypt, I give you one example. When I was in university in Alexandria, there was a big terrorist attack, you know, where 10 tourists were killed. And my mother was in Sweden. She called me, and she was really scared and worried, and she was like, you know, it's been a big attack, are you safe? I said, what? What attack? Let me put on the Egyptian news. Nothing. It was just, you know, the president visiting a child hospital, you know, and I was like, there was no attack in Egypt. So, I mean, the worst place to be informed about what is going on is in Egypt, you know. So, yes, it is inspired, the idea that they managed to hide it. And the fact is that after Sadat, the assassination of Sadat, the military parades are always inside of the military college or the military academy because they are afraid of new attacks. And the glass in front of the president, this glass that they have, it becomes thicker and thicker and thicker every year. I look very closely because I follow this. Yes.
Moi j'ai un vœu pour le prochain film de Tarik Saleh, l'un des 3 qu'il écrit, dont 2 qui aboutiront, c'est qu'il fasse enfin une vraie et pure comédie parce qu'il en a vraiment le talent.
You know, I will tell you one last thing tonight. You know the Viagra scene in the film? It happened to me, actually.
J'ai pas osé poser la question.
Wait, I will just tell you that story. My wife, she was pregnant and we were in Egypt. And she sent me to the pharmacy to get the folsyra. It's this acid that you take when you are pregnant. I have never been pregnant, I'm not sure the name, but it's folsyra. She sent me there. I come into the pharmacy, okay? And there's this Salafist guy, he's listening to Quran in the speaker, and he is downloading films on his computer, and and I say, okay, my wife is pregnant, I need this, da 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 da. He's like, and for you, sir? I said, no, I don't need anything. Viagra? I said, no, I don't need any Viagra. Yeah, no, Viagra is shit. And then he starts to present all these different brands, and people start to enter into the pharmacy. And I look like I'm very interested in all these things, and I'm standing there, I'm like, please, no. And then, and this is, I shot it, but I don't have it in the scene because it's too funny. He takes out a box from under, a golden box, where he say, this brand is a local brand, it's called Directa, but it's made here in Egypt, but please don't take it, you will never have an erection ever again.
It was very ça se met dans le rectum. Enfin, je crois qu'il a dit ça, mais je ne veux pas développer. Merci beaucoup. Non, moi je remarque quand même que, en général, les gens qui racontent cette histoire font croire qu'ils n'en ont absolument pas besoin. C'est comme dans le film, quoi. C'est pas pour moi. J'ai bien compris. Merci beaucoup, Tarik Saleh.
Thank you.
Et merci, Guy, pour la traduction.